Welcome back to Feelings in Flannel. This is episode 3 of season 2. And in this episode, we have one of my friends, Ben Conrad, comes to make trouble. Stay tuned. Feelings in Flannel is hosted by us. I'm Adam.
I'm Amelia.
And we are a father-daughter combo who are setting out to debate the merits of love, romance, humor, and faith in rom-coms new and old.
Listen and join us as we seek to name the top 5 rom-coms and discuss masculinity and femininity together and how that plays into role. Make sure to like and subscribe and share it with your friends on social media.
Stay tuned. Here we are, episode 3, which we said that last episode, and it was actually episode 2. But this one is actually episode 3 due to some lost footage. We did some shuffling around. But this is episode 3. We're back. Been a good season so far.
I would agree. I think the movies that have been brought are... both of them that were brought are both two of one of my favorites. Not top 5 favorites, although The Wedding Planner almost made top 5, but it didn't quite outbeat the rest of them. So I've enjoyed, plus both the guests were my friends, and of course I love them. So that was just fun to do.
Well, and the way it's going right now, so this season we're inviting guests on to bring their pick and to see how it scores across all 7 criteria. And if it scores higher than something that's currently on the list, it would make the top 5 or equal to, I suppose. We still got to figure that out. But we aren't just setting people up for failure. Someone has actually made the top 5. Pretty Woman, when Liv was on, it made the top 5, and it is now sitting currently at number 5. So we have a top 5 that has number 1 and 2 scored 7. And number 3, 4, and 5 scored 6 of the 7 points. And tonight we have a new challenger entering the conversation. So welcome, Ben Conrad.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Do I fit into your friends list, Amelia?
Of course.
Or am I just pushed onto your dad's friends list?
Yes.
Well, thank you. I like this. Feel welcomed.
I'm not entirely sure who you're here to support, so we'll find out who's friends actually after this, because it might not be you and me.
Could be.
We'll see. Thanks for wearing a flannel.
Yes.
You know, I flaked out tonight. It's ice storm outside, and nobody's trying to, go outside without a hoodie on.
Yeah, I searched for an axe. I didn't have an axe, so sorry to disappoint there. But
that's all right. If it gets vulnerable, thanks for calling it out. Mir is here. And Mini Mirror is passable with safety. And so if you do need that, I'll just pick it up and give it a toss.
So you have safety first?
Yeah. I leave the sheath on because until it gets real vulnerable, got to keep that blade covered.
Yeah, I'm more worried about it getting too heated tonight with my arguments. So I'm glad that the weapons are safe.
I thought this might be the case. So I hadn't told you this yet, but here's what I think. We obviously know the movie and we haven't exposed that yet. We'll get there in just a second. Everybody be patient. But here's what I think is happening. I think Ben is bringing a movie to make a point versus make the top 5. And if you have worked this out with my blood, my flesh and blood behind my back, we certainly won't be friends after this episode.
We'll have to see, won't we?
All right. So why don't you be the one? You look right in your camera, Ben. Look at the audience with a straight face and tell them what you've brought that you believe can make the top 5 of an all-time rom-coms list.
See, I'm not here to win tonight, guys. So I am here to protest season 1.
Yes.
So it was mentioned previously that we've had some protests and some disagreements on whether some of these movies are rom-coms.
Wait, some of these movies.
Okay, we'll say
the one that wasn't got nixed because it does no comedy at all.
Okay.
And then the one that stayed meets the only criteria that was outlined. Does it internet search as a romantic comedy? And the answer is yes. And the movie you're referring to, of course, is
Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect. Almost everyone's favorite. It's certainly our producer's favorite. He loves it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it offended me because, not that it was on the list, but that it pitch slapped everything and became number one. And so when I watched this, which is truly a great movie, there's no disagreeing there. It is a great movie. And if you wanted to list the movies out as movies, it might be number one. It's pretty good. Even watching last week's episode, there's no way it's a better rom-com than Pretty Woman. And Pretty Woman's towards the bottom of the list. And so I came here to protest.
All right.
And I had sarcastically chosen a movie based on a Google search that I did not expect to return as it did. And so I jokingly Googled, is Forrest Gump a rom-com? And believe it or not, it came through. And so, we have one of the greatest love stories of all time, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But
well, so Forrest Gump, and that is what you're bringing tonight to work through the criteria. And I forgot to start the timer, so we'll do that now.
I wanted to choose Lord of the Rings, but I did not Google as a rom-com. So.
Well, I wanted Top Gun, and that didn't make it either. So I've Googled that like 4 times, just in case it's changed. It has not. But anyway, before we get into the criteria, I must say, truly, those look like comfortable shoes.
Oh, they are. The dudes.
I mean,
the dudes.
You could probably walk all day in shoes like that.
I did.
So
I sat all day today in them. But yeah, I could have walked.
You could have, but you didn't.
Yep.
All right. Well, okay, so let's get into this criteria. And, the fact that you're coming to undermine the process with this ridiculous pick means that you've already lost, yeah?
I could get 5.
Okay.
I'm not sure. It's a number-based system.
4, maybe.
We're not putting 2 movies against each other. We're doing a numerical system.
It's a straight score. You're right.
Yeah. So I think I have a chance, as ridiculous as it feels.
If it scores more than 4, I will buy you lunch.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What about me?
I'm really more interested in hearing Amelia's reaction to all of this. Just to what her thoughts of. This is more of a vintage movie, one that you had not seen previously. And so I'm excited to hear what your thoughts were and if you have any points to give as far as the scoring.
So what I'm hearing is he's on my side.
They're sides now. I thought we were
that's
partners.
what you prefaced
You
with.
said in last episode, no, it was in Liv's episode, first episode of season 2, we're partners. And now you just toss me to the wayside.
Well, if it means... Anyway.
I know what you're about to say. If it means winning. Win at all cost. That's what you were raised better than that.
Well, it's just because I'm still a little bit bitter about how the top 5
I blame
came.
your mom.
Why do you blame Mom?
I don't know. Just seemed convenient.
Well, my first comment is I just a little bit ago processed why you talked about his shoes, because I think my family who knows me saw it on my face where I was just like, oh yeah, but then it hit me, oh, that's a reference to Forrest Gump. But I only seen it one time, so you gotta have some.
It's a classic line from Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's describe the movie. For those, again, I think like Pretty Woman, if you haven't seen this movie, I'm not sure you're American. This is an American classic. It is a great movie. It certainly is not a great movie as a rom-com, but that's my opinion.
We will see.
We'll see what happens. But in the movie, Forrest Gump, why don't you run it down? What's the summary of this movie?
Yeah, this is an older movie. I think it was, 1994, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
It was Best Picture winner. Did you know that?
Okay.
So it's already better qualified than any other movie on this list. So Tom Hanks won his second Best Actor for this film. But he is basically, in today's terms, special needs. We can't say what he would have been called back in the early 90s on this podcast, his family friendly. But he has special needs, and the movie begins with, it's really a relationship movie to me. Relationship with his mom, relationship with several men later in the movie, and of course the ever-long patient pursuit, as we say here, of Jenny. But his wild adventures that make no sense at all.
Yeah.
And are almost borderline ridiculous, but they are pretty entertaining. So,
Yeah, it really, I mean, special needs is the way to say he's developmentally disabled cognitively, and he has the most positive outlook at just like the most resilient human being on the planet, overcomes a physical disability to be borderline athletic in his own way. And the movie essentially is built on his ability to run.
Yeah.
Almost without ceasing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is that. And then there's this love story sort of that's woven in there. It's his love for her more than hers for him.
But there is a shift.
But there is a shift. So let's see where we're at.
I'm racking those points up
with the criteria. Let's start with something. Let's start with redeeming. Let's start there because I'm not sure about that. Right. So the redeeming quality, right, which is redemption of the way they view themselves or the way that an individual views a type of person, demographic of people, whatever. So what do you think in this? Where is this redemption?
I think it's not with Forrest. I believe that it would be with Lieutenant Dan and with Jenny by the end of the movie, especially Lieutenant Dan. I mean, he goes from being about as hostile, I mean, even to Forrest directly and bitter, hurts habits and hang-ups, that's what we would say, to being grateful. Of course, he's also super wealthy by the end. That helps, you know. But Jenny especially, I think when she appreciates her maybe not quite same level of love for Forrest that he has for her, but she does appreciate that by the end in a way that's changed her.
So I think like let's really run the examples. I'll try to pull examples as well and Amelia, but since I'm the biggest advocate for Pitch Perfect, I'll try to correlate it there. I think the challenge, because you're right, no doubt Lieutenant Dan, his view of people like Gump changes, right? And he becomes appreciative. But that's certainly disconnected from the romance side of it,
Correct.
right? So it's not absent of redeeming quality. I wouldn't go there, but I'm more like half point for this because it's not connected. And if you look at Pitch Perfect, which is the movie that you are so vehemently against being a rom-com, the redemptive quality is within the romance. It's her
specifically
judgment of people like this, right? That are in the choir or the competitive singing kind of a thing, right? So I'm a half point. What do you think? You're made a case for sure. I don't see the redemption of her to him at all. She was always like, he's just a normal dude, right? From the moment everyone's like, seat taken, and she's like, you can sit here, right? For the very moment they meet, she's all in, like, just a dude. Right?
Yep.
What do you think?
Well, I have to admit, I just became American like 3 weeks ago because I had never seen this movie before, which I love Tom Hanks, and I'm trying to watch more of his movies, but I think I don't remember all the details as well as you guys do because you guys seem to have grown up on it, but I think with her, if I remember right, it's like at the very end when she finally comes back and stays back because she leaves at one point and then has a moment, I guess. I feel like I mean, it was a long movie, but I was hoping for more to see her more because it's like that. And then, spoiler alert, she died.
Yep.
And so I was like, dang. And I'll be honest, I wasn't really that upset when she died because I didn't like her.
Yeah.
I thought she treated him horrible.
I
He
can
was
appreciate
an
that.
angel. I cried way more in this movie than I thought I would. But I was really crying because how he was. Because you fall in love with Forrest. I didn't really care about Jenny at all. I thought she was a hoe. I think I said that multiple times.
She's a hoe.
RJ's got a sense for this one.
I say that probably more than I should at home all the time. But I said it a lot during the movie. I'm like, Jenny's just a hoe. Because she treated him like dirt.
Walked out on him
More than once.
so many times. And every time you're like, not this time. And she's just like, deuces, and leaves again, typically leaving with someone who is just a horrible person in society.
And there are reasons for that.
Sure.
I mean, from her childhood.
Yeah, from her childhood, her trauma. Like, this is a deep movie, for sure.
I would say that I felt differently watching it now as an adult, being more aware of, like...
Same.
Yeah.
I did too.
I think I understood, not to excuse her behavior, I guess, but in a way that I understood, like, she's just so unhealthy, and this is why.
Yeah, that's a great point. But I will tell you, as this one's father, for her to say... It didn't even bother me that she died. Says a lot about the fact that I think the romance that they're trying to portray in this movie really struggles to connect to the audience, because at some point you're rooting for him and like not them.
You mean the romance that I'm trying to shoehorn into this podcast? Is that what you mean?
Okay, well, whatever.
We're trying.
I think, I would agree. I think it was so one-sided. Like, he pursued her from the very beginning all the way to the end. And even after she kept leaving. Now, I guess it was a deep movie, and a lot of it, I mean, like, this might be taking it to a too saved comment, but watching it was kind of like relationship with God in a way. Like, we fail, walk out, but he's still right there. Now, that's a little bit deep. I didn't mean to go there, but
well, you're not wrong.
I think
that's a really valid point. And again, I think I did view it differently as an adult, knowing so much more, having different experiences. The movie felt different to me, and again, it's a great movie. So redemption, are we good with half a point?
Yeah, because it's there, just not with Jenny.
Okay, does that feel fair?
Yeah,
I don't want you to feel cheated.
No,
I mean, I know you're going to lose. You already know that.
I'll argue.
You didn't come to win. I understand, but we want to be fair. I think Dan's view, that's good. So, which one do you want to go to for yours? Throw a hard one at him.
I guess I'll do Giddy Girly. Heart squeeze, cardiac embrace now. It's a new term.
You know, I think there's a few, and I think that it may be similar to our first topic where you feel like maybe not so much with Jenny. There's a legitimate heart squeeze when Lieutenant Dan shows up at the wedding, like with his legs and his healthy relationship. That for me was like, I'd forgotten about that. So that kind of got me off guard in this movie. Yeah. I won't mention that here. I don't have the axe in my hand, but yeah, I felt some of these emotions. Yeah. Some of these emotions as well. That surprised me a little bit. I mean, like, his mother was special too.
Sure.
So, but yeah, so I think there's a few.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think kind of like with the redemption piece, like I had a lot of heart squeezes, but not for them because I quite frankly did not like Jenny at all. But yeah, with his mom a lot, and I think one of the biggest ones made me cry. I think I cried throughout the whole movie, off and on, from the beginning. But I was sucked in from the very beginning when the feather fell. It's like the intro, and I was like, I'm going to love this movie.
We need a new category, things that catch you at the beginning.
But when he goes over and she has the kid, and she says it's his, and he asks her, is he smart or is he...
Yeah.
I was like...
Yeah,
was
gosh,
like,
that was a good one.
The parental concern.
Right.
Yeah.
But it gave me a heart squeeze because he cared about. He was excited, but he
didn't want him to have the struggles that he had. And it's for the first moment you get a recognition that Forrest is not oblivious to the way he was treated.
Yeah.
And he didn't want that for his kid.
That's true.
That was a powerful moment and a heart squeeze that actually did have to do with kind of the whole relationship, right? You don't have a child without the relationship.
Yeah.
The majority of those heart squeezes, though, I think, like you can look at a movie like Hitch, for example. You can have some cardiac embraces, my preferred term, with what's his name again?
Kevin? Or
Kevin's
that's Kevin
character is named Albert. You can have some with him as he has moments with Will Smith, and you feel that and you go, oh man, that's cool. But it also has nothing to do with the romance.
Sure.
Right? But in this case, yeah, I had forgotten about that moment, which is definitely about their relationship. So what do you think on points? Because, I don't want to be overly harsh on my friend Ben.
I mean, I guess, like, especially with when they were young, like, she's like, you can sit here with me. Like, that was a hard squeeze. So
True.
I think a full point. I mean, I had a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think so.
I had a lot of hard squeezes in the moment. Now,
he has some serious heart squeezes on the bench when he's just telling the story.
Yeah.
With the people,
Yeah.
right?
so I feel like there was enough between them. It was all one-sided with him, like the way he kept pursuing her. He saved her, or tried to save her from, she was singing and they were booing her or whatever, or trying to get her or something like that. And then, like, he never pushed her too far. And when she comes to his speech at the monument, she in the water. So full point for me.
All right, so full point. So we're at a point and a half.
Point and a half.
We got 2 of the 6. We're not going to count soundtrack yet, but 2 of the 6 out. We're halfway there. So let's increase our pace just a touch. But let's roll to back to me, and let's go to Patient Pursuit.
Yeah.
This seems relatively obvious, but
Has there ever been more in a film?
yeah, that's tough, right? I mean, it's hard for me because it's there.
Yeah.
But until you see that he's not oblivious, if that scene's not in there about him recognizing, I don't want my son treated like this, I wouldn't call it patient pursuit. I'd call it almost just eternal optimism out of ignorance.
I disagree. He
Really?
went on a 3-year run when she left. When she left, he woke
Non-stop.
up and she was gone, and he got up and he ran out his front door and didn't stop for 3 years. I don't know how much more you can do.
Yeah.
That's heartbreak.
Well, and there definitely was the pursuit of it's there, right? With the letters, the all the stuff. So I can't make a case really against it. I just think there's so much hinged on this moment where you realize he's not oblivious.
Yeah.
He's not ignorant, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a human being. He's feeling these things.
Yeah.
And so then you go, man, he's got to be consciously pursuing this safety with her or whatever he calls it. You know?
So
full for me, I guess. I can't argue against the full point there.
short 2.5.
And I mean, I think the fact that he runs for 3 years once she actually goes kind of shows that he's aware. I feel like you start to see his optimism go down. Like he's starting to realize, like, she's going to do this forever. So he just runs and then he's back. And then, she comes back or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay. I guess the only way I could argue that it doesn't get a full point is because we said in Liv's episode that it had to be both ways. That's the only point.
That's a great point. That is a great point. And there is no case to be made that it goes that way.
I would agree. She
In fact,
anyway.
there's such a case to be made that it only mattered to her when she needed support. It could be even a detriment down a full half.
Can you give negative half points?
Like,
It's going to be so bad that there's like
I
a
don't think
negative.
so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great point. We did say that. Thank you for recalling that because that's fair. That's a fair point.
You guys need a rules board.
We do.
You guys are getting a little bit deeper.
We weren't very consistent in season 1.
Stop that.
As Mom keeps pointing out, and like I'm not sure if she really supports
Listen, until
us.
your mother has the courage to come on here herself, then I don't want to hear what she has to say
I'm
about
just saying,
it.
we were pretty harsh with not harsh, but we introduced, I guess, some points that I don't remember.
That's
in
because it's
season 1.
Liv.
That's because you guys were
it's tough
defending
love.
your choices.
Yeah,
That's what
I
it is.
just
It's
didn't want
defense.
You've Got Mail to
Together.
get booted. I was like,
Okay, so let's call it a half then, right, for
yeah.
the pursuit side of this. So
Okay.
that puts us at an even 2. All right. You're next. We are at 20 minutes.
I'm gonna do the shift one next.
I mean, there was a shift clearly at the end. You
Right.
can debate why, I think. Was it because she was sick? And, they're not specific in this incurable virus that she has. I mean, I think our generation assumes it's HIV, AIDS, whatever.
For the timing of the movie,
yeah.
certainly what it was. Right?
Yeah. So I think part of the reason why I won't disagree with you and say this is a happy movie is because of the fact that it always felt a little bit cheap to me that she chose to be with him when she was sick, when they had a child together that she clearly didn't intend. So I won't even argue real hard on this point either way. There's clearly a shift. I think that, like you said, even the scene that you referenced earlier, there's a shift in him. When he's asking questions that you wouldn't have expected from him. So I think there's a shift in his character as well. Because we'll limit it to those two, because I think Lieutenant Dan doesn't qualify again in this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not about the romance. But what are you thinking?
I guess, I don't know. When I described this shift early on, it was like a look, or like usually the way they film it in the movie is like time seems to stop, the music is like whoa, and then it's kind of thing. So I didn't see a shift. I feel like for, like you said, for her it was more like it was convenient. That's how I felt like the whole time for her to him, like she was convenient. Oh, he would take care of my kid, or oh, I'm sick and I can trust him. I felt like she used him the whole time.
I do think that the only possible shift that I would say would be when she realized that, probably for the first time in her life, that somebody actually loved her. Because, like you referenced earlier, her just starting with her dad, horrible relationship. But even going forward, it's like everyone that she was with didn't care for her really at all.
Yeah.
So I think there was that realization at some point where she's like, this man loves me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a case to be made for pointing a shift if you start manipulating what the shift was originally. And then I think when we get into that, we lose so much. And like, okay, well, my gosh, what are we calling a shift? Got a little bit loose in the last episode with Liz. The shifts happened off screen in both of them. And she made a case for it, and it worked. It actually worked. It was just different than the same type of shift, but I think this one will be a little loose. So let's not point that one then. So we're still at 2.
Okay.
And now we're back to, we did Patient Pursuit, we did Redemptive, which leaves Out of Place.
Oh, for sure.
What? Make a case.
Yeah, for sure. Has there ever been anyone that's more out of place than poor Forrest? And like literally every
situation
era of his life. Yeah.
But it was funny.
Yeah, I mean, you find yourself, like Amelia said, you fall in love with Forrest. You're rooting for this man to be successful, and no matter what he does, he's just so genuine. So clearly, full point.
Yeah.
3. We're sitting at 3, and we're getting close to lunch.
Yeah, we're getting lunch. There's no doubt.
All right, is that the right? Okay. What,
We have to get 4.
You got to get 4, and we
4.
already know it's going to get soundtrack. So we're at 4. Like this, can we call that soundtrack?
Yeah, they sold 12 million copies of the soundtrack.
I know. I'm actually blanking on the soundtrack.
It's all era specific as they go through the movie.
Yeah, and it's American classics.
Yeah.
I feel like I
Great
remember
songs.
loving it, but I just can't remember any songs in it
Yeah.
at the time. But all right.
Okay, so we're at 4.
Yeah.
There you go.
I get lunch.
And-
Sounds good too. I'm so hungry.
And you have how many criteria left?
1.
What did we do?
I just have my cute moments that show they know each other.
Yeah, okay. So we've got 1, cute moments that show they know each other, Ben.
I don't know about that one. I don't know.
So you're getting lunch at least.
I'm getting lunch. That's what I came here for, is to argue and to eat. So, one of the things that, ironically, that I would ding Forrest Gump for, let's make a new category. And one of my biggest reasons for hating the fact that Pitch Perfect is number 1 on your list is when you look at Forrest Gump, so you Google Forrest Gump, the image pops up. It's probably him sitting on a bench, maybe him with a box of chocolates. Jenny's nowhere to be found.
Fair.
So I don't know if that's a rom-com, or not. But if RJ will pull up the Pitch Perfect box, the boy's not on there. It's a group of girls. It's a group of girls. This is not a rom-com. This is a story about singers that happens to have a boy who likes her. So I would argue that Forrest is much more romantic than...
Forrest is much more romantic?
Yes.
Okay. I guess if you're into that, treat you like dirt until I absolutely need something from you as a romance, sure, whatever. But I don't know that that's the case. But you make a strong point that it. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what to say. I'm trying to think of other rom-com covers, and they usually put a couple, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my thing with Pitch Perfect is like the romance is a sub story.
Yeah.
Like it is about this. She kind of opens herself up like with the redemption, viewing this type of people as not so bad or whatever. And they have amazing singing, and then she just happens to fall in love with one of the boys who's also in one of the singing groups. So that was my thing, which whatever. It's such a war though, because I love that movie so much. But the love story is a sub storyline.
And then for me, that's why it's hard for me that it's at 1. It's not hard for me that it's a great movie.
Yeah.
I think, but I think your original format was difficult. I think the way you're doing it now is easier because it makes room. So you don't have to take your very favorite one and it's gone because this one barely won.
That's true.
You know, I mean, like I think Pretty Woman would have beaten quite a few on your guys' lists if you had really sat down and gone
just going head to head.
Yeah,
it's possible. It's a great movie. It's an American classic.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that it's there, and I think there is a case that can be made. In scoring it though, that's the interesting part.
Yeah.
The issue is not about does it hit the pieces. All the pieces you go, yeah, it's there. No doubt it's there. It got 7 points. It got them fairly.
Yeah.
It's always just about, but it's not, the primary story is not about romance. And I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But yes, we get it. It Googles at
Thank you.
But here's my thing. I did this today because I was just stressing about it. I Googled it. Is Pitch Perfect a romantic comedy? It pulls it up, the movie with like the overview, summary, all that, and it says romance/comedy. But when I type in, not saying romantic comedy, but say is Pitch Perfect a rom-com, it says in the AI thing, no, Pitch Perfect is not a rom-com.
I think we need to have another vote.
A and I was like, what?
We're taking this to the Supreme Court. So
we are now reaching out to you, our listener. If you're watching this on YouTube, then comment. All you have to say is yes or no. Should Pitch Perfect be considered in top 5 of rom-coms? Yes or no? And we will take that under advisement when we finalize this list. I'm just kidding. We will hear you. If the majority says no, that yes, it's we're not saying is it a good movie, is it a bad movie? It's just should it be considered in this list because the primary storyline is not about romance? I'll accept that.
Well, and for me, like you said, it's not even the fact that it's in there. It's at number 1. Compared to other ones in the list, like You've Got Mail, that is an American classic. Same with Pretty Woman. It's the fact of where it falls that makes me the most upset.
You had control of 50% of the criteria. It's not my fault that it meets your criteria.
This is not what we're talking about. I'm just saying it's not. I don't care if it's really in there. I would just not want it to be above some of the other ones that are in there. That's what I'm saying.
So what happens if we win? And the fan vote comes through.
I think that you will see Pitch Perfect come out of the list, and it'll remake a season about musicals.
Yeah.
Now that can be number 1 in the music. Well, it can be in the top 5 musical. Yeah.
You know, I just love the movie personally, and that's part of this. You know, when we started this conversation about doing this, it was like, man, I couldn't name probably 5 rom-coms, honestly. And then getting into it and going, okay, well, I started with what movies have I seen that I really enjoyed, and do they have romance? And then this came in, and I really enjoyed this movie. And so, you know, there it is. That's why it is. So genuinely, back to the listener, if you will cast your vote by simply making a comment, yes or no. No need to put more than that and give your full opinion.
Oh,
nobody's that interested.
Please do.
I am. We are.
Yes or no, if it should be on the list. And if the no's win, we will take it off and we will shift the list. So there we have it.
I'm an agent of change.
You're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So are you
support
still
me.
friends?
what I was going to say you are starts with an A.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the word agent. Didn't have the word change. It was amazing friend.
That's what I thought. I'm also Amelia's friend now. So
And I think we're better friends than you guys
Yeah.
are now.
Maybe.
we'll make up over the
We'll
lunch.
bend over lunch. Well, we nailed the time this time. 29 minutes. We're right towards the end. And I appreciate you coming with a contrary view.
Yeah.
You've enlightened our listeners to say, fight back.
Yeah. It's
Now,
okay to have an opinion.
just remember, if the opinion comes back as a majority yeses, it stays, right?
Yeah.
Argument over.
That's fair. I will
Okay.
accept that.
All right. So we'll see what happens. Anything else to add?
No. I think it's great that we discuss another Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah.
Because Tom Hanks, it deserves to be talked about.
Great actor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it difficult to create multiple YouTube usernames to vote more than once?
And on that note, Ben, it's been great having you on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all for listening. That concludes episode 3, season 2.